Okay.
Hey, everybody. I am Mark Anthony Lord, and we are here this evening to talk about spirituality in recovery, which is one of my most favorite topics to talk about. And I'm truly, truly honored to be a part of the healing process power taking place on Sex and Healing Relationships platform. So just really happy to be here with you tonight. So that's me, and that's my dog that you're hearing. And tonight I've got a really a special exercise that I've done with many, many recovery people all over the country, really, at different conferences and treatment centers. And I found it to be highly helpful to so many people. I've not done it specifically on a webinar experience, and I've done it as an interactive experience with other people, but I just know it's going to transfer well. I'm confident of that because I've been thinking about it on how to make it work. And basically the focus is firing the old God and then hiring a new higher power. Basically, the 12-step program says a higher power or a God of your understanding. And I like to switch it around and say a God of your design, a God that works best for you. And there's a great way to discover a whole new idea about what that means. So that's what we're going to explore tonight. And that's going to be the conversation. So even if you're watching this later, I really invite you to take some time and bring a journal and pen with you. You can pause this as I invite you to explore different ideas or to do a little bit of journaling exercise. You can really accomplish it within 30 minutes, especially with my guiding you through the process. So we're going to begin that process right now. And I like to begin all of my webinars and gatherings with some centering. Just focusing on a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of breathing. The mind can just shoot all over the place, you know, before our feet hit the floor in the morning. So by the evening time, the mind has often done quite a many miles of journeying in a bunch of different directions. So centering, some mindfulness practice is a way to slow the mind down, get ourselves back into our bodies, centered here, located where we are. So why don't we begin with doing that? I invite you, if it's possible for you, to close your eyes and just take a nice deep breath. Breathe in through your nose and follow the breath all the way down to the base of the spine. And then when you feel the breath turn and begin then to become an exhale, release it and feel the body relax. Again, nice slow inhale through the nose. Feel the body expand and stretch the body with the breath. And on the exhale, relax. Place your attention upon the face muscles and invite them to relax. Feel the face relax. Feel the jaw drop down and back a little bit. Move your attention down into your neck. Maybe move your head a little bit side to side and imagine the neck relaxing and opening up a little bit. I like to think about like a frog when that part of their under their mouth, just their neck opens up. Like imagine it just opening and relaxing, becoming larger. And that relaxation pours down your shoulders into your arms and hands, and perhaps your arms and hands might feel a little heavy for a moment. And just let this relaxation drop down into your torso, swirling around all the inner organs down the spine, relaxing the muscles of the back. Maybe move that a little bit, just nice. Feel the joy and the ease of just moving. And this relaxation drops right down into the hips, down the legs, the knees, down into the ankles and feet. Just take a moment and just be here now. Keep your attention on the breath and just say inside yourself, relax. Invite yourself to relax. Keep the focus on the breath. Let go. Relax. And while we're in this open, relaxed place, I speak the Serenity Prayer as an opening kind of blessing for our time together. So if you're listening, you can say this with me or just inside yourself. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And bring your attention back into the room you're in slowly. Open your eyes whenever you're ready. I feel very fortunate because I've done meditation for many, many, many years that mostly when I'm inside meditation, I don't have any noise. I just have kind of like a white light space, like there's no, a thought might come, but it doesn't grab me. It might pass through. And I share that just to say that that's come from just practicing it from many, many, many times meditating when the mind was going crazy and it wouldn't stop. Many times trying to meditate and I couldn't sit still, so I get up and didn't complete the meditation. I just kept building my muscle over time. And I made a decision years back that when I meditated, that even if my mind went crazy, even if I fell asleep, I didn't care. My intention to sit and meditate had to be enough. It had to be enough because there were just times when it just, the crazy thinking in the mind that was so wound tightly and wound up that it wasn't a joyous experience. But I made the decision that even that was fine. I just had to practice. I share this with you because I hope that you'll consider that idea. And I invite you to consider practicing consistently start with 3 minutes in the morning. Use your phone, set your phone, 3 minutes, and then just close your eyes and breathe. And it will feel like nothing. It will feel like sometimes it made no difference. It'll feel sometimes like even though it's only 3 minutes, you can't wait for it to be over. But I promise you, something's happening. Something's happening. There is a slowing down. And as the slowing down happens more and more, you're going to hit pockets of no thought. And then you're going to go, oh, I'm not thinking. And then you'll start thinking, but then the pocket will come again. And really, I mean it. Like now, it's mostly pockets of no thought. And when I'm leading them, my challenge is I just want to stay in the no thought and I don't want to guide. So my challenge is to guide and then go back to the no thought. So if it's possible for me, it's absolutely possible for you. And there's great peace and serenity to be found in that place. So we'll be doing that every Thursday beginning with that, and always happy to talk about that, and always happy to answer questions, and perhaps we'll do one of our times together, a larger focus on this conversation, how to do it, ways to do it, that kind of thing, because there's so many ways and helpful tools to that.
Can I ask you what made you persistent in? Because I'm going to be really frank with you. I've tried, I made the commitment, I'm going to do 30 days, because it takes 30 days to change things. And it was a guided meditation. And I realized for me, all it felt like was another thing to do on my list. So what gave you the persistence, or what gave you the incentive to think that if I persist with this, it's going to be different at some point, so that you could find those pockets of no thinking?
Well, I kept being in places where it was happening, which was helpful. Now remember, I'm a minister, and so I teach, and meditation is a primary component of what I do. So I'm always in rooms guiding them. So that, I got to be honest, like that helped me. But I don't know. I just decided to do it every morning, and I gave myself a break around, like, it doesn't have to be an hour, it doesn't have to be 20 minutes, it could be 1 minute, but I just am going to do it. I feel like it was a decision. Step 3, Tammy.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I made a decision, and in that decision, which is always what I have to remember, it's not about doing it perfectly. I do not do it perfectly. I miss days. Sometimes I'll do it later. Sometimes I have days meditating a lot. Sometimes I just get it in and get it over with. So I've just given up on all the judgment and all the stories about it. Just show up for it, and don't stop. Don't stop showing up for it. So don't count days. Don't worry about, just every day wake up. Can I get a meditation in today? That's all. And again, start simply.
Well, you're inspiring me to try again on a much more simple basis, but
good.
Yeah.
Well, then I will bring this up. I was going to say I'll do it later, but I highly recommend this app, Insight Timer. It's free. I think it's free. I may have paid $9.99 for the extra bonus thing or whatever. But
INSIGHT?
INSIGHT Timer. It is so good. It's got music. It's got it tracks your time. There's other people that will say hi to you. It's got guided meditations in there. You can just set the timer for 2 minutes. It will gong. It will be done. And it's kind of fun to let it track you, because when you see, it's kind of like, with on the app, the walking app, when you see.
Oh yeah. I'm very fitness app oriented. Yes. So
yeah.
That actually would probably be a good thing for me. So.
Yeah. So it's got that app feel to it. Like, oh my gosh, I just did 7 days in a row. And then you'll have something where it's like, I don't want to break my stride.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that's a great app.
Okay.
To do.
So. I'm committing here to try it. So
nice. Mm-hmm. I've got one person. Not this week filled. I'm not kidding you. Like, I can't stress enough the joy of no thought. It's a phenomenal place to be, and I'm living proof that you can get there. So. All right, so we're going to begin the conversation about this thing called God. I'm going to use the word God specifically because it's used often throughout the program, and the program says you can use any language, you can do whatever, and including inside that, if you read any 12-step literature, especially the big book, the word is all over it. It's in the steps, and my hope is to help you have a healing around the word, so that use it or don't use it, at least it's not triggering you. Because if it's triggering you, then there's still something there. And in recovery, we want to go the full distance to the gifts of our recovery, to the spiritual awakening that's promised us. I know Tammy talked about that last week on the 12th step. The gifts of the spiritual awakening, that's what we're going for. And this word, I don't want it to stop anybody at all. So I'm going to invite you to take a journal, a pen and paper, take a moment and get that, because what I want you to do is to take notes as I talk through the process. What I invite you to do at the top of the page is write old God, or some kind of old God, or old, just old God concept. at the top of the page. And on this page, you're just going to write the old concepts that either you were told or that existed in the culture that you grew up in. May not have been your experience, but you heard it, because all of these live in what's called the collective consciousness. The one consciousness that we share has all these ideas, and we are susceptible to the ones that we were taught, the ones that, our family or our culture, our neighborhood, those are the ones that we're most susceptible to. So on this page, I want you to write out all of the negative ideas about God. Now, the positive ones, if you have those go on the next sheet. So don't worry about it. We're going to get to those. But I'm going to free flow some of the things that I've heard said or that I've been taught. And if I say any that you agree with, write those down, or they may trigger other ideas that come to mind. So for me and other things I've heard when I've done this exercise, God is a white man with a beard. God is up there, outside, up in the heavens or in the sky, looking down. Scorekeeper, keeping track of my every move. Judgmental. Fearful. God was, had the power. God sent people to hell, to burning damnation. God expected you to be good. And some even said, God didn't want me to even be me. I had to be this persona. I had to be this something that I'm not. I had to pretend to be good so God would like me or accept me. What other concepts? Some people had the experience that God was Jesus and only Jesus, or that Jesus was the only way. Those were some of the things that they were told and taught. That God was punitive. You think about, some people thought of God in the Old Testament, which like God would just wipe out people and angry and fiery and lose his temper and lots of his, male. So as I'm saying some of these things, if any of these resonate with you or you've heard them, write them down and capture them. And maybe other thoughts about this old God. What were you taught? What were you told? That felt bad, that made you feel bad about you or afraid. And it's important that we, even if you've done this work before, thought about this at whatever length or depth, I find it really rich to just pause and write it down, to really look at it and go, oh, here's the deal. I was told, and my experience was, I needed my higher power to be bigger than my disease. Because if my higher power is not bigger than my disease, why bother? If my disease is my God, and my disease was my God, and if that's bigger than this God concept, if I don't have a God concept that's loving, I'm not going to turn to that. So if you have an unhealed experience of your higher power or God, or you have a broken idea or these old concepts from your childhood that are still in there deep in the roots or deep in the subconscious mind, when we get our cravings, when something happens, when we're fighting for our breath, around our addiction or whatever's happening, if this old God is all I've got, I lose every time. And that was the beginning years of my recovery. Was my God concept was broken, and it wasn't bigger than my cravings. And therefore, it was that experience of relapsing, saying I'm going to do this, not do that, and so I found this to be a super important healing process. I needed my higher power to be bigger than my problem. And I needed to cultivate that. And I needed to build a relationship with that. And I needed to take responsibility for designing and being in relationship to this, so that when I needed it, it was there, right? I love to tell the story of, and I'll get back to the worksheet, bright ideas if they're still coming. My first sponsor told me I had to call him every day for 90 days or he would drop me. He wasn't going to sponsor me. And I thought he was a total dick for that. But I liked him, and he was like the dude to have, and he said yes to me. And he said to me, look, you can call me and say, hi, it's Mark, and hang up. You don't have to do anything but call me. But if you don't, I'm dropping you. He said, I've got other people. He had a whole list. He's like, this is how I roll. And I did that. But what's interesting when I look back is I wouldn't, I could have got up in the morning, gave him a call, hung up, and had a total free day. But, I'm a crazy addict. I would let it hang over my head, and then do it at the end of the day before I go to bed.
11:59 at night, just before midnight.
A whole day of suffering. Thinking about it. I was afraid. I don't know. It was new. It was new to feel intimacy. And it was new to be consciously connecting every day. Well, here's the gift. No surprise. Well, it was surprising to me. After 90 days of practicing calling, when I didn't need him, when I did need him, the groove had been made, the inroad. That's the purpose of building a connection with the sponsor. Reach out when you don't need him. Reach out when you don't need her. Reach out when you don't need him. Reach out when you don't need her, so that when you do, the reaching out is already in place. And that was what happened. It was miraculous. I transfer that idea over to this higher power. Ultimately, for you to have a real spiritual experience, you must create a conscious connection. And again, back to this old God, who wants a conscious connection with that? It's not doable. It's not workable. So take a moment. You can pause this webinar if you want to, if you're watching later, and look at your list. Is there any other negative idea about God? Anything you were told? It didn't answer prayers. Wasn't there for me. Too high of expectations. Whatever, things like that. Really get in touch with it. And then we're going to take that piece of paper and we're going to move it aside. I just want to put it on the side. We'll come back to that. I'm going to take another piece of paper. And on this, I want you to write and you can do my new God. If you don't like the word God, my higher power, my source, whatever word works for you. You don't have to use the word God. That's our freedom. But I want you to use some word for this exercise anyway. And I think higher power is great. My higher power. Now on this sheet of paper, I want you to write qualities that resonate with you as I walk you through some experiences. And as they come up, again, if I were doing this in a group, we'd be kind of doing it together and popcorning responses, and you'd be catching them from other people. You're going to catch them all from me right now, and you're going to add to them yourself. So the first place I want you to think about is, if I'm going to assume that you've at least explored a 12-step room or you're in a program. If you haven't yet, then imagine sitting with a couple of really close friends or whoever makes you feel so safe, like you really can be as honest as you possibly can. A place where you feel really okay to be you. For me, I'm going to use the examples of when I would sit in a 12-step room. And when I'm sitting in a 12-step room, what am I experiencing that I could go, that could be qualities or experiences of my higher power. I experience honesty, really honesty. I experience humor. Sometimes we get to laugh at ourselves. I experience a sense of self-acceptance. There are people, there's some kind of acceptance happening. There's a willingness. I experience people being humble and telling my story that I didn't even have words for, because it's their story too. So there's a connection. So there's connection, there's humility in people sharing, there's honesty. there's a sense of safety. There are times when I felt scared in rooms many times, but there's also those moments of, I feel safe here. I can breathe here. And again, there's laughter, there's humor, there's forgiveness, there's a sense of letting go that's happening as people are talking and sharing. And sometimes there's pain and there's crying and there's different things, but there's something beautiful about it because their crying is a release of some kind. So there's beauty, there's sharing, there's connection. If you really just pause and think about what's happening in that room that's feeling positive and can feel spiritual, it would be these experiences. And we don't break them down in the meeting and go, oh, by the way, honesty is happening now. By the way, you might be feeling connection right now. We don't call those out. So that's why I'm saying, let's call them out now. Because what I've come to realize, and I invite you to realize, that's my higher power. That's my experience of my higher power. So any of those words that resonate with you, either when you're being that way or you experience someone else being that way, and it causes something to feel open. Again, I'm going to use the word over and over, connected. Connected is a word for my higher power today. Honest, open, friendly, laughter. Any of these words that you enjoy and you want to be your higher power, write them on the list. Write them down. Because we're going to do a whole collection on this page. We're going to get a whole list of words that represent our higher power.
You mentioned self-acceptance. One of the things that was harder for me to get to, but the acceptance by the group. So I added to my list acceptance and self-acceptance, but I thought I have to distinguish between acceptance by the group and self-acceptance. That came, but the initial was they showed me how to accept myself.
I love that. Group accept. You're absolutely right. There was an energy of acceptance in the room that is really very healing. And I think you could add the word healing is happening. So thank you for adding that. Anything else, Tammy, that I didn't say that you put on your list?
Love, because that was another one that was really important for me, and not in the romantic love, but just I love people in that room, and some of them I don't really know, but it's just we're all here together trying to do the next right thing, and just loving them and their humanity.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for adding that. And I would also add the word support.
Yes.
So much support. Fall down, that's okay, get up.
Right.
Like really beautiful. So see, all of these things are happening there in this room, and sometimes to lesser or greater degrees. But I find myself now today, I look for them because that's the representation. Oh, my higher power's here. My higher power's here because there's acceptance in this room. There's love in this room. There's care happening. There's listening in the room. All of these things, write them down. Now I'm going to move you to your five senses. So what are our five senses? Hearing, seeing, speaking, taste. Hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, and smelling. These are our five senses. These are what I consider, another word for them is portals. They're portals of experience. It's how we experience things, life, sensations, right? Now, I think my experience is a lot of people tend to like or are wired for some that make them go, ah. Like for me, it's smell. The morning smell. When I go out in the morning and that morning air, I go, oh, God. It brings you to a little, it stops you. It's that your senses, whether you're tasting something, whether you're hearing something beautiful, whether you're smelling something or seeing something or touching something, it's the things that make you stop. Suddenly you're in the present moment. And it's like, oh, the smell of coffee. Oh, the taste of that pasta sauce or or hearing beautiful music that you just, there's so many times where our senses are so activated by something lovely that we enjoy that they stop us. And so my invitation to you is write down ways that you experience joy, connection, awe through your senses. Like I said, the smell of the morning air, seeing a sunset, hearing children laugh, tasting what you love to taste, ice cream, coffee, whatever. What makes your taste buds dance with present moment joy? We're taking in all day long. Our five senses are being activated. Where can you go? I love when this happens. So touching, I love to touch. I love the touch of someone else's hand in a beautiful way, in a nice, caring connection way. I love to pet my dog. I love him, and I love to feel that on my hand. I love my blanket at night. I love the feel of that. That's a lovely feeling. Again, smells. I love smells of perfumes, or maybe there's a particular smell that you like. Many people think I'm crazy, but I love the smell of patchouli. Some people say it smells like dirty socks. I don't smell that at all. I think it's one of the most amazing smells, or smell of a candle burning. Capture in music. What kind of music do you like to hear? What music makes you go, are you sing along 70s music? Are you classical music? Do you love jazz? What do you love? Think about that. Your senses all have ways of experiencing connection. And I call all of these connection higher power access points. Higher power access points, which means now when I'm in a room with friends, I can go, oh, I'm feeling connection here. That's my higher power. We're having honesty. That's the presence of my higher power. When I'm walking by myself and I have a wonderful smell, I'm getting connected. I hear children laughing. What I'm trying to get at is your higher power experiences can be happening morning, noon, and night everywhere you go. That's all around you happening. You just never stop to make a list and go, that could be my higher power. That could be a way of feeling its presence. That could be a way of feeling connected. The disease disconnects us. So any way we can find connection points to life, to beauty, to laughter, to whatever. If disease is disconnection, our higher power is connection. And what I mean by that is just feeling that joy, that sense of awe, right? So think about other things that you enjoy, that not just enjoy, that kind of stop you again in your tracks, kind of feeling. That's what you're looking for. Add those to your list. Another fun thing that I like to do to even up this a little bit for play and for more experiences, what color do you love? What color just, some people don't have a favorite color, or you could just pick a color. I don't have a favorite color per se, but I do enjoy the color purple lately, like this purple that Tammy's wearing. I love, to me, I'm like, oh, my higher power's here. Purple. Go ahead.
I was just laughing because as soon as you said color, what color do you like? Immediate big smile. I was like red, and I put 3 exclamation points behind it. So, and I've said my eyes are happy when I see that. I mean, I use that phrase. It makes my eyes happy.
Yeah. So if there's a color that makes your eyes happy, let that color be a higher power pause. So I like purple. When I see purple, I just let that be a higher power pause. The goal here, and now, and you can pause this webinar again if you want to just look at your sheet. Is there anything else? Now on this sheet, you want to just load it up with as much experience and connection as you can come up with that you enjoy. What color makes your, how'd you say it? Make my eyes happy? Yeah, makes my eyes happy. And now if you were to bring that old God and higher power, let's put them side by side. What you will notice is that the old God is external. It's out there, it's punishing, it's happening to me. It's got there's something out there that is dangerous or whatever. You look at your higher power, this new list, and it's all experiential. It's inside of you. It's not another being. Now you can add, if you like, if you are a lover of Jesus or Buddha, or there is a sense of a deity that makes you happy, you can add that presence onto your list. But it's even more than an image or a symbol or an other being. It really is, for me, because I want my higher power experience all day long, and I want it connection. I go, oh, what if I was raised being told that was God? What if I never was told about this external being, this scorekeeper, someone who that burns people, or this, scary thing? What if I was raised to go, oh, do you like that smell? That's your higher power saying hello to you. Oh, do you have that? Do you enjoy that moment? That's your connection to your higher power. We weren't raised to notice how connected we actually are and how much is really inside of us experiencing all the time. This is the place, this list that you just made, I would like you to toss your old God. You can crumble that up and you can say, I'm done. That one's gone. You can just throw it away if you want, or you can keep it as comparison for a little bit if you want, if that's helpful. But my point is, you just made a list of a new higher power experiencing all day long. And that's what I love about it. Like, my wish for you is all day long. You're like, oh my God, my higher power is everywhere. My higher power is everywhere. Oh my God, that billboard. Look at that. Look at this. Oh, that song came on the radio. It may sound crazy to you in this moment, but that is how close and how supported I want you to feel. Because when I'm feeling that connected and that supported, and I'm placing my attention there throughout my day, looking for, listening for, smelling for my higher power, my addict doesn't have the front seat. Or if I get a little trigger from an addiction, or in the addiction from something that happens or someone that walks by or something like that, if I've been noticing my higher power for the first 3 hours of my day, that trigger has less power over me. And my ability to keep myself lifted up in the positivity of my higher power becomes a habit, and it becomes a practice, just like mindfulness. We can do these things, and over time, you will literally have a different experience of God. My old God, that list that we made, I just don't have. I still feel like a victim once in a while. I have to watch out for some of my patterns, but my higher power relationship is so everywhere, always. It really is. Like, I do not imagine myself ever not being in the experience of my higher power, because I always have access to it through those portals, right? I hope this is helpful. What I would add to this whole idea now is, and maybe we can talk more about this another time, but now where I would move to is actually creating a conversation with some kind of inner experience. Now, some people, maybe it's just using the program members or therapists or people that are supporting you in your time of change. That's always very, very positive. But if you really want to develop here's another way to say it. Develop a relationship with your inner wisdom, your inner knower, your higher self, your higher power. You can create a dialogue with that voice. I have really come to know that my higher power is a voice of wisdom and love inside of me. And I remember thinking, oh, that's crazy. To talk to God. And then someone said to me, you've got conversations in your head all the time. You're always talking to something. It's usually destructive or punishing or scary. But don't think you don't have conversations happening all the time in your head. You may as well look for or develop a positive conversation. It felt foreign for a long time because the habit conversation was the negative one. That one I knew really well. That one I knew so well, it would go on automatic pilot. But to switch all of that focus and start practicing moving it over to a different conversation of love and support and connection, isn't it funny? I felt crazy doing that. I felt like, oh my God, I might be wacko if I'm building this conversation. And yet all along I've got this negative one going on. So did you have a thought, Tammy?
Well, a couple of them. I thought I had a hard time discerning, like what to trust in myself, because, in my addiction, everything I did was not very helpful for me. So like we were talking about, listening to your wisdom inside, I was like, I really needed to have that from the group and from all of those other people before, before I could learn to trust that. And for a while, I would say, I'm thinking this, what do you think? I had to get some external to help me understand that, yes, that would actually be a good thing. And you can trust that. So, and now, now I mostly do it, but I didn't, when you talked about negative triggers, I do, I had a couple situations in the last couple of months, which is way better than it used to be, where I would say, oh, you're such an idiot, and I was like, that is such an old tape you can use the word tape instead of, you can tell how old it is. I use the word tape instead of, DVD or something. But, it's one of those things where, like now I can catch myself, like as soon as it's out of my mouth, I just go, no, that wasn't your best choice of whatever. I can't remember what I did or whatever I was, giving myself grief about, but I was like, no, that wasn't your best move, but that doesn't, make you an idiot, so I can self-talk my, back, which I think is one of the gifts of my higher power, and the love, because I was raised, it's punishing, judgmental, all of those things. And, I've had to give all of that up, like you're talking about, to go, no, my God really wants good things for me and wants love for me and is love, for me. So it's been very transformative, but, I'm still human and, I'll still call myself an idiot every now and then, so it's progress, right? So
It is. It is. At least you don't put the word fucking idiot.
Oh yeah, no, I don't do that. I didn't do that. So that would be really punished back.
Right. Now you're Thank you for adding that. Thanks for adding that. Because as I'm thinking about, I'm like, I didn't always follow my inner wisdom, but it always was there. I mean, I always had this knowing, like, oh, this isn't really what I should be doing right now. This is, I mean, I had,
yes.
Even if it was this much, and even if I swept it under the rug and completely ignored it, I mean, even if I got high so that I couldn't hear it anymore, I mean, or whatever I needed to really let the addict take over.
Yes.
I always did have a sense like there's something in me that knows this is not the most positive thing for me. I just didn't have compassion for the fact that I couldn't stop. You know what I mean? I didn't know.
Right. The fear of I did not know how to stop. So I had to squelch that and keep doing the negative behavior. I didn't have a way out until someone gave me the gift of the program. I mean, that was my only way out.
Yeah. And if you're a beginner listening to this at all, I really believe that the winning equation is a vertical connection and a horizontal connection. Mm-hmm. Vertical is to my brothers and sisters in the program, because I have to be connected that way. So I'm honest and being seen and not hiding. And then the horizontal connection is about taking the time through my meditation, my spiritual practice, my connecting to my higher power. It's the combination of the two that is the winning equation. It's not one or the other for me. But if you're going to start somewhere, start with the vertical.
Yeah. Well, and I go to meetings and I want to be that voice of love. I want to be, I want to show other people how how to learn to forgive yourself, and how to, like all of the things that my higher power has shown me. And so for me to be connected to other people, and remind myself while I'm there, but also to help demonstrate that, it's also another connection to my higher power.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the practices that I really, really deeply enjoy, not everyone takes to this, but I want to share with you because if you're interested in trying it, and it is a journaling practice, and it is just a conversation with my higher power. And I begin by writing with my dominant hand, hello, higher power, or good morning. I'm feeling afraid today. And I'll just sort of write whatever, I'm bored today. I don't know what to write to you today. I just journal to get it started with a dominant hand. And then when I feel an impulse or just something, I switch to my non-dominant hand, and then I let my higher power respond to me.
Mm.
And there's something that's if you switch to a non-dominant hand, you're actually accessing the creative side of your brain, because you're having to really think about the writing, and it's such a foreign experience for the body. It slows you down, and you really will be surprised with non-dominant handwriting. Now, I've gotten so good at non-dominant handwriting that I can actually read it. Like some people will literally, they can't make letters with the non-dominant hand. So some people do this conversation using the dominant hand, and maybe they indent when they hear a voice. Any wisdom, just notate it, and then just see if you could start causing inside of yourself questions and answers, or a sharing, or some kind of conversation. And there are times I'm doing that, by the way, I'm like, that doesn't sound like my higher power. Like I will have sense of that sometimes, but mostly what happens is so caring. There's just love. It's things like, I just love you. Slow down. You're doing great. It's positivity. It's support. It's care. It's the voice that I need to build inside of me more and more and more. And a way that I've enjoyed over time developing it is through a journaling dominant, non-dominant hand. So I don't know. I part of my hope in these Thursday nights is to just keep giving you tools, keep giving you different higher power practices that you can explore for yourself, because one may not work, but the next one may rock your world.
Right.
So, if you've enjoyed journaling, or if that's interesting to you, or if you've never tried non-dominant handwriting, I'm right-handed, so I'm using my left hand here. And when I do that, it gives me access to something deeper. And that's another way to start building a connection to this higher power. So we started with the conversation of looking at the old God, and we wrote that down to see it and to realize, oh, nothing loving or kind or something I want to hold on to. No wonder I've got a broken higher power concept. We'll move that aside. And then we took the time to explore when we feel connected in program, when we feel connected in relationships, through our five senses, colors we enjoy, realizing that we could create a world where our higher power is with us all the time if we just think about it in a different way. Disconnection, connection. And then we talked about the idea of, now, how do I maintain the connection and strengthen it? Strengthen it. One of my ways is by looking for my higher power throughout the day, noticing it, pausing to pray, connecting with fellow program people, making calls, outreach. All those are higher power access points. And then the internal practice, or the personal practice of a journaling exercise, trying to explore a conversation and using dominant and non-dominant hand. So we covered a boatload of goodies for you tonight. And I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope that you've gotten something out of this idea. You can always email me with any questions or any insights if you want to share. Lord Mark Anthony, LordMarkAnthony@gmail.com. If you just want to share, hey, I did this is what came through, I'd love to just hear from you. And, and if you have a quick question, I'm not into creating a whole email conversation, but if you need a little bit of support, you need a little bit of help, I'm super happy to hear from you and hear what you're thinking and share if it will be helpful.
And join us again next week.
Yes.
So, that's the way to continue the conversation and be connected. So
yeah, join us next week. Next week, we're going to do another one of my favorite exercises. We're going to dissect the Serenity Prayer.
Oh, I love that prayer. I've used that as a mantra.
I know.
Yes. I look forward to that one. So.
Have you dissected it?
I have, and where I would, yes.
It's a fun exercise.
Yeah, and you'll probably dissect it differently, but yes. Well, yeah. I look forward to that one. So.
Cool. Well, let's take a breath together, everyone. We begin with centering. We end with centering. Use your breath. Pull your attention inward. I invite you to lift the corners of your mouth up just a little bit or a lot. Bring a smile to your face. If you hold that smile for a few moments, you're releasing endorphins. You'll begin to be lifted up and feel a little bit better. And it also activates the energy of gratitude. And as we come to a close, I just know I'm very aware of how grateful I feel to be here now, creating and being a part of this conversation. A guy who once was fully in self-destruction mode, doing things that I would never want anybody ever to know, feeling enormous shame and embarrassment and fear because I couldn't stop. To be here today, completely different person, transformed. I am so grateful. And I know that this is possible for you. I know it. You could not convince me otherwise. So if you're uncertain today, lean into my certainty. Maybe you could just say, Mark and Tammy know it to be true for me. And maybe that's enough. You can start there because we do. We absolutely do. So thanks for being here. Peace and blessings and happy recovery to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Tammy. Bye-bye.
See you next week.